Thank you for visiting with me today. I had some thoughts I wanted to share with you as I'm working on my journey towards becoming a thriver after surviving domestic abuse. One of the hardest steps in breaking free and escaping the day-to-day abuses and all of the cycles of abuse was finding people who would believe me and that I would feel safe to reach out to. The difficult part so often is that people are afraid to get involved in helping a victim of domestic abuse. Sometimes because they're very close to the victim and they're fearful that the victim will boomerang back right back into the abusive relationship and more harm could happen. Sometimes people know the victim and they're afraid to get involved because the fallout they themselves might receive, the stray bullet or ricochet, if you will, because some abusers are far more frightening than others. Don't get me wrong. Abuse to your partner is never okay. And let me start off by saying there's nothing the victim did or did not do that got their abuser to hurt them. That is a behavior that the abuser chooses. Another reason, too, that some people fail to get involved is it's not my problem, it's not my fault, I'm not getting involved. And I know early in my journey of trying to figure out freedom for myself and my children, as I encountered people who just didn't want to get involved, and some people who refused to get involved unless there was a legal document protecting their rights so that they wouldn't be held accountable, I likened it to that of Nazi Germany, if you will. Before Hitler became in full range power of the manipulation and destruction he caused, there were several years before that the rest of the world was hearing stories of what he was doing, but turned a blind eye saying, not my problem. And look at the horrors and evil that happened there. So I did tend to liken people who just didn't want to get involved and refused to say stop to abusers. I liken them to that of people who allowed Nazi Germany to become what it became. And I still do in my heart and mind. But I don't want to do it as vehemently and venomously as I know an abuser has given their testimony, if you will, on their innocence. So as I now work closer and closer to my journey of thriving, I implore and impeach, approach. Not the right words, but my heart is there, and I know you know what I mean, because we're having a conversation, you and I. I see that same trial and horror and hardship in the legal system. Not just in getting friends around you to support you or people to say, I believe you and you're not crazy. That same difficult manipulation happens in the legal system. Now, let me say, one of the places I started my journey towards freedom was the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. They'll help you find areas close to you where you can get local help. And they'll even have people who are gracious enough and kind enough who understand domestic abuse and help to navigate the legal waters with you. I can tell you I was blessed with an acquaintance I knew for years. We both hid our abuse well. I didn't know she had that challenge in her household, and she didn't know I had that challenge in mine. I felt strong enough one day to ask her suggestions for a good lawyer. I'm lucky I got a great lawyer. Cashed out all kinds of life insurance policies of mine and any money I could scrape together anywhere. And it's still expensive. I'm paying my lawyer back. Now, I will say, some people said, oh, claim bankruptcy, you don't have to pay him back. No, this man helped protect me and my family. So I'm still working to pay my lawyer back. Side note, though, the legal system allowed my abuser to drag out the divorce proceedings. Where I live, it's a no-fault state. They don't care why you're getting a divorce. And even though I had an order of protection, which isn't easy to get, and my abuser likes to say, oh, it was just a restraining order. Two big things, two different stories. Anyway, the intent here and the purpose is to reach out to those of you who have the ability to make a difference in our legal system. The abuser, once the divorce is over, goes off on their merry way for the most part. Mine still uses what small little places he has to control and cause hardship in my life to do that. But he can't take back my soul and my spirit. And he can't take back my protection and love and encouragement to help my children grow into better people. And he can't change what I'm saying because it's the truth. The legal system did allow him to manipulate it and drag it out, which just caused more financial devastation and hardship to myself and my children. We're still working through that. It's still hard. And as much as they say money isn't everything, they're right, money isn't everything. I don't have anything, but I've got myself and I've got my children in control of their futures. And we'll get through it. Because in the end, that's what's important. But again, the legal system allows the abuser to continue to hurt and manipulate and damage his victim and damage the family of the victim. It needs to stop. There needs to be reform there. There needs to be understanding there and compassion and power there to stop. The biggest difficulty in a nutshell I can say is in our country, the perpetrator is innocent till proven guilty. And it's the victim's responsibility to prove their guilt. And the perpetrator can say whatever they want. And it's up to the victim to prove they're lying and to prove my innocence. In other words, I had to prove what my perpetrator, an abuser, did to me. I had to prove my innocence, and I had to disprove every lie he put out there. He didn't have to prove any of his accusations. He didn't have to disprove anything. He just continued to manipulate and drag things out. There needs to be some kind of stop at that in the court systems. There are a few judges and a few lawyers who understand it. There are some great domestic abuse service agencies that can happily and readily provide education, understanding, and support. And I can tell you the Archdiocese of Chicago, the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago, has a phenomenal outreach. And there's two gentlemen, Father Charles Dahm and Mr. Monaco, who are doing a phenomenal job educating people on all of the layers of abuse. It's my understanding that judges only need a couple of hours of training on what domestic abuse is, and it's optional. Hairdressers, for goodness sakes, need training before they get recertified now, and they've brought it to doctors and nurses. So the one place that can still continue to give the abuser horrible, damaging, wounding reverberation of their manipulation and power control is the legal system. Please, I implore you, we need to fight to change that understanding in our legal systems, to protect our victims, and to protect the children of these victims.